What is cooking, everybody? Welcome to a new video. So we've been working on stuff here. I've kind of been all over the place and running around like a chicken with its head cut off like usual. So videoing hasn't been very top priority for me. It's hard to video when I jump from one thing to the next, and I'm usually not the guy who likes to do that, but sometimes it just works out that way. We are trying to get ready for spring here. It is on the horizon. So sprayer's almost done, at least for the shop work or being in the shop. Like I said, I've been jumping around doing a lot of other stuff, so that project prolonged itself way longer than I wanted it to, but gotta get it home because I gotta get the nozzle bodies on it, make sure it sprays, and because we'll most likely be spraying here in a week and a half, 2 weeks, so I want to get it home, get some water in through it. It's supposed to be in the 70s next week. So speaking along the lines of the sprayer, we got our tender tank here. It's 1,800 and some gallon. I think it's like an 1850. You know, for the most of the ground, we're gonna be, well, for a little less than half the ground, we'll probably just come back to the farm here because we'll have a little spray area set up, but then we'll come back to the farm here with the sprayer, you know, because the road speed on that is, you know, just fine. You know, it's like 33 miles an hour, so we can get back and forth to the farm. But for the other stuff, you know, we're all spread out, so we're gonna need a tender trailer. We're not spraying at a, you know, it's actually a pretty low gallon to the acre rate, so it's not gonna be a huge thing, but just for when we're out, you know, 10 miles away from the farm, it'll be nice to have. So we'll put it on our flat deck semi-trailer, and we'll have a little inductor station there. Sprayer has an inductor on it. We're just gonna make sure it works. So it's been so cold here and the weather has been changing. Like we had a 65-degree day, and then the following day it was, you know, it didn't even get out of the 30s. So here this weekend we're gonna try to get this thing ready to go. There ain't much that we have to do to it. I gotta hook up the new monitor. Then we got 3 load pins for the furrow force, so we'll spread it out across the planter. There's really no need to have them in the individual rows. If we just get a gauge them where we're at, we can adjust them. Right now we adjust them up there by the air pump, or the air compressor I should say, and we don't really have a, you know, the only gauge we have is that pressure gauge right there. So, and usually we were running them about 13, 14 PSI, and we never really changed it over the course of the year. Now we'll be able to read it off the Gen 3, and then we'll plumb a little switch or a little knob up in there that we can crank them if we need to, but we have such variable ground that it'll be nice to have that, because I think we were putting not enough pressure on some of it. So it was still doing a really nice job, but I think it would be better if we could gauge that a little bit closer or adjust it a little bit closer. So we're gonna do that, and then we got to figure out this light situation. One thing I can't get over is when they put the markers on, they weren't set to the planter, which is fine. It's pretty easy to, you know, put them to that, but you got to know a 12-row planter, you know, they got to know the length of how far the markers have to be to design the 12-row planter, and they put these lights up too high and it knocked the light off and ruined it. The folding and unfolding, you got to be in the exact right spot, and even that, you know, when we come into fields, a lot of our fields aren't level, you know, when you drive in to unfold it, and I'm not going to go across the field to unfold it on level ground. And I'm not talking like a slope like this, you know, I'm talking just enough that it messes with that. So what we're going to do is both on this side and that side, we're going to get LED lights, which the other thing is I don't understand. It's a brand new planter. Why isn't there LEDs on it? But we're going to put them off to make a little bracket and put them off to the side here. It doesn't hit the brake light, just hits the hazard light. So my little rant, no big deal, easily fixed. Still like the planter. So, and that's just the frame part of it. So, the frame is actually, I'm very impressed with it. You know, I thought it was going to be a lot less than what it is, but thoroughly impressed. This planter did an absolutely excellent job last year. Great emergence, and we did have an emergence issue, but that was in areas, but that was due to the weather because it was really cold and dry. And when you have cold and dry or cold and wet conditions, stuff doesn't emerge very good. So, but it was just cold and dry. Nothing to really do with the planter. It was kind of the conditions we were putting stuff in, but we didn't really have a choice. You know, we had stuff broke open already. And I'll say one thing, this thing does an absolutely awesome job in no-till situations. Just the emergence, I've just never seen such good emergence and singulation and all that on no-till ground. It was flawless that way. Kudos to this thing. So I'm gonna get this out at some point here this morning, get her folded out. There's a couple of things that I want to check and start doing. Then here next week when it warms up, I'm actually going to put water in there so we can get the V-Apply HD and all the pumps and stuff circulating, make sure everything works through the monitor. Granted, I haven't fired that monitor up yet, so I have to do that. Debating if I want to start it up today or not. I'm a little nervous about doing that. I tend to like to mess stuff up every once in a while, so there's that. And then we're going to try to get the sprayer home tomorrow so we can start working on that. Granted, in between the first part of this video and these last two clips, or last two sections, I did talk with my father and we made out kind of a game plan here for the next couple of days. So looking at the weather here for today, if my phone opens, it's going to be 50 degrees today. We've already had a couple of severe storms this year already. Just with the fluctuation in temperature, yeah, it's supposed to be 50 degrees even. No, when is it supposed to warm up? Yeah, gradually getting warmer every day. 80 degrees next Thursday. Oh, I can deal with that. I love that kind of weather. I'm getting sick and tired of this cold, crappy, snowy weather, which we haven't had snow for a while, knock on wood. So, first things first. So we have our hydraulic dump here for, this is the dump for the Delta Force and then the vacuums. And then this is our inlet or whatever. So, issue we're having right now is actually, one of the things we did before last fall is we rebuilt all the CV housings. Some of the seals were shot in there and all that. Because last spring it kept blowing this hose out. We'd have it on CV4 and that hose would blow out every once in a while. So now another issue we're having is these tires are settling. There are a lot of hoses on this thing. So I'm gonna switch, we put the lift on the 2 just to see if it had anything to do with the CVs, which I doubt it does. I think it has something to do with on the planter here. So one problem we also had last year was the planter would just slowly creep down, and I had a feeling it had something to do with the tractor CVs, the housings being junk, but not sure yet. We'll have to see what happens. If it does it when I fold it out here, then that wasn't the problem, and it's something to do with either that block there or something in here, because there's all kinds of hydraulic blocks in here. Yeah, you see me rolling my eyes. It's always something. So I'm gonna switch these hydraulics out quick. All right, got those switched around. Just I'm gonna fire this bad boy up here. See about figuring this out. Oh, I had it out already, but actually twice now. Wanted to get it out of this area and hooked up to a tractor and took it out and folded it out, put it right back in. And then another time because we were gonna start working on it and then just never got to it. So now's the day. Oh yeah, that thing's so pretty. And it's flat too. I'm looking forward to it. Kind of had it set down low because I can reach up to it from my controls instead of having it up here. And then now I can see out of that mirror. So that helps. Alright, so we throw the power box on here. Oh god. It's the air seat. Thing's taking a crap too. Oh, something. Trying to makeshift something up because the pump for it's $300, so probably just go buy that. It'll be a lot easier. And I stepped in dog poop too. I don't know why the hell that dog likes to crap in the barn, but sure enough he does. Oh god, I hate that smell. So I gotta get something. That is just stupid. Okay, maybe I'll just, I didn't put the right mount here on. I'm gonna put those wing wheels up here. There we go. I'm gonna get this thing out of here. You guys are probably gonna fall down. See if I can get out of here without hitting anything. Yep, there you go. Alright. Try to get this up, and I'm gonna have to move those vehicles. Reason we put it in neutral is because it does pull the tractor back. Like right now, if you have it in park, it just kind of messes up the wheels and all that, the wing wheels, and it's just hard and puts stress on everything, so that's why we do that. Let that, and you hold it for about 5 seconds just to make sure that there's a pin that drops down in the back. I'll show that to you guys in a minute. But now we're in transport here, so now we want to put it into plant. Let's throw it in park here and go back through. So what we're gonna do is there's gonna be something that we wire into the PDM, so when we put this into transport mode, it lifts all the row units up with the delta force. So when we're pulling out of fields, like say right there, when we're pulling out of there, these outside row units get super close to hitting the road because of how long the tongue is. So we're gonna take and put that wiring harness on there and wire it into the hazard lights, so when those go on, it lifts the delta force, or the delta force lifts the row units up, so it clears that. So instead of being down here, they're gonna probably be up to like here or something. So yeah, but here's this lock pin. I don't know if you guys can see where my fingers are. It's back here. It drops in just to lock the frame in with the hydraulics, so so it stays folded out. All right, so right now we're trying to see if it's slowly going down, which I don't see it's doing that. Yeah, so it's not. So that those CVs were probably, those CV housings were probably the problem. Some of these gauge wheels, I'm gonna have to loosen the bolt and get them a little closer. That one's good. This one just a little bit. I like it that they're close enough that they turn the opening disc too. That's just me though. Gives it less chance of dirt getting down into the furrow, so I'm going to move a vehicle here, 2 vehicles, because I gotta get down to the shop. So we're also rebuilding a planter for a friend of ours, so we got getting clean sweep with new getter, or not new, those are used unit, but is getting those to because they had traditional ones on there. So then I'm gonna have to think about cleaning fence lines at some point too. Got a few of those to do this year, so I guess we'll put this in here for now. Make sure you shut it off too. Oh, scares me every time. Wrinkly. That's another thing that has to get fixed. I just throw this down here for the time being. It's always a shuffle around here, so. Alright. There that is. Now we can get the planter down. Oh yeah. That's pretty. So I'm gonna need some different wires to get that Gen 3 going. Dad did that parts run and I don't know where he put all of it. So far this isn't leaking down. If it was, it would do it by now. So yeah, once we get those load pins on and that Gen 3 hooked up, we're basically ready to roll. So, and then messing around with some of the other little things that we have to. We're gonna have to plumb in, I believe, there's gonna be a little computer module up by the compressor that we plumb in for the reveal, because the reveal will be controlled from the Gen 3 instead of a clean sweep gauge display, or not display, but a gauge lever, which for those of you who've seen our planting videos from last year, the whopping 2 that I put out, you guys will see that there was a clean sweep box in there. So now the reason we didn't have the Gen 3 last year was because we ordered this at just the right time when you got put on a waiting list for them. So we ran a brand new Gen 2, and we obviously returned that once we got this. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, so this will be year 2 on here. So this got roughly 1,200 acres last year, so I don't really think, I already went through and checked all the opening discs. So you slide 2 business cards, you know, down into there until you can't move them anymore, and if it has to be 2 inches in between those 2 business cards, and they were all that, so they didn't really change. So like I said though, we only had 1,200 acres through this last year, so this year we'll probably have a little bit more, but still not a huge amount that we're gonna have to do to this. We'll go through and grease all these things up, but really this planter has very little grease zerks. You got 24 of them for the gauge wheels here, and then you got all the lift arms and all that you have to do, but and then the pivots, but other than that there's really nothing here that needs greasing. So one of our best things we ever did was build this thing. Number one, it was cheaper than buying one built already. We actually had a John Deere we got prices on a deer one, and they were just, this was almost half, maybe 30 over half, but this was almost half just to build this, and in my opinion a better planter. So the only thing that this doesn't have is the speed tubes, and that one was an exact merge, so which would have been nice, which eventually down the line will be what we get, but or we'll get the, not the exact merge, but we'll get precision planting speed tubes or whatever. I'm looking to pick up a couple miles an hour, but I'm not looking to get too crazy with it. Mainly what I'm looking for is getting exact singulation, which this still does an awesome job. You know, we were in smooth ground, we were, you know, 99-100% singulation. But when you're going over some of those, you know, like in the no-till situation, you got knocked down to like 96, 97, and that's where I feel the speed tubes would come in handy, because the row units tend to bounce a little bit, but just that little bounce really kind of throws them off a little bit. So, and by no means am I complaining about it at all, because there's still a picket row fence there, but you could pick out a couple spots there, and you know, if you can pick out those couple of spots, you know, in like 5, 10, 15 feet, you know, that's spread across the entire field. Could be worse in other areas, and that does equate to money being lost. So is it enough to pay those off necessarily? I don't know. Not saying yes, not saying no. And then also, you know, picking up a couple miles an hour would help to try to get stuff done a little faster, because I like to have stuff in within a 2 to 3 week window. So I did get the Gen 3 hooked up yesterday, so I'm actually starting a new video here. So stay tuned for the next couple of videos. We're gonna be getting that dialed in and get it working with the planter, correlated with the planter. So that is going to wrap this video up. Sorry for all the talking. I hope you guys enjoyed. Catch you in the next one. Oh yeah, that's pretty.